The first crack in my perfect life wasn't a sound, it was a silence. It was the way Mark's phone, which usually buzzed and chirped with the rhythm of his real estate business, had gone utterly, suspiciously quiet whenever he was near me. He'd started taking it to the shower, for God's sake, placing it face down on the counter, using passwords I'd never known him to use before. I'm not a naturally suspicious person, but that silence was louder than any alarm. So 3 days ago, while he was snoring softly, a man with a clear conscience, I did the thing I never thought I'd do. I gently pried his phone from his slack fingers, guided his thumb to the sensor, and stepped into our walk-in closet, closing the door behind me. The evidence wasn't in a messaging app he was trying to hide. It was in the *deleted* folder of his email. A confirmation for a hotel room at the Willard, for a night he told me he was at a broker's dinner in Arlington. A receipt for 2 dinners from a notoriously romantic, intimate French bistro. And the clincher, a receipt from a jewelry store for a diamond tennis bracelet. A bracelet I had never received. The world didn't end. It just tilted. The air in the closet grew thin and stale. I sat on the floor, my back against my neat rows of shoes, and read the digital trail of my husband's betrayal over and over until the words lost all meaning. The hurt was a physical thing, a cold stone settling in my gut. But then something else bloomed beside it. A hot, sharp, and terrifyingly clear sense of purpose. Rage is a poison, but it's also a fantastic clarifier. I didn't scream. I didn't cry. I put his phone back on his nightstand exactly as I'd found it. I lay awake the rest of the night, not as a heartbroken wife, but as a strategist. A general preparing for war. The next 72 hours were a whirlwind of quiet, efficient action. I hired a lawyer, a sharp, viciously competent woman named Brenda who smelled blood in the water and grinned. I moved half of our liquid savings into a new, separate account. Money I'd inherited from my grandmother, which legally was mine, but I wasn't taking chances. I documented everything, took pictures of our assets and started mentally moving out of the life we'd built. Mark noticed nothing. He kissed my cheek, complained about work and left each morning, likely to text his mistress from the safety of his car. He was living in a playhouse, unaware I was pouring gasoline around the foundations. My plan was simple. Serve him with divorce papers at his office, a very public and humiliating unveiling of his double life, right before I emptied our joint account. Brenda had the papers ready to be filed. I was just waiting for the perfect moment. Then this morning my phone erupted, not with a call from my lawyer or a sympathetic friend. It was my mother-in-law, Carol. The screen flashed with her name, over and over again, a digital siege. Each call was followed by a text message that was more unhinged than the last. First text from Carol, 9:14 a.m, *Sarah, answer your phone this instant. Second text from Carol, 9:16 a.m, what have you done? Mark is beside himself. Third text from Carol, 9:18 a.m, how could you be so selfish? After everything we've done for you. Fourth text from Carol, 9:22 a.m, *answer me you ungrateful girl. I sipped my coffee, a small cold smile touching my lips. So he'd found the money missing. The first domino had fallen and he'd run straight to Mommy. Typical. I let her call 2 more times, enjoying the schadenfreude. This was even better than I'd planned. His mother's hysterical involvement was just the cherry on top of this shit Sunday. Finally, on what must have been her 10th attempt, I answered. I didn't say hello. I just held the phone to my ear and listened to the sputtering, furious diatribe. And to just clean out the account without a word. Do you have any idea the position you've put him in? He has business expenses. He's a man, for heaven's sake. He has pride. You will transfer that money back immediately and we will discuss this like adults. I am appalled at your behavior, Sarah, truly appalled. I waited a bit, letting her fury echo in the silence. Are you done, Carol? My voice was calm, flat, it threw her off. You take that tone with me, young lady. I have half a mind to come over there and… You might want to save your breath, I interrupted. And your outrage. Before you defend your precious son any further, you should ask him about the $5,000 bracelet he bought for his girlfriend. Ask him about the hotel rooms, the dinners, the lies. Ask him why I took my money out of an account he was using to fund his affair. Silence on the other end was glorious. I could practically hear the gears grinding to a halt in her narrow, judgmental mind. What? She stammered, her voice losing its bluster. What disgusting lies are you spreading now? They're not lies, Carol, I have the receipts. Literally, I'd be happy to forward them to you. He's been cheating on me for months. I took a savage pleasure in spelling it out for her. This woman who had always held me to an impossible standard, who constantly nitpicked my career, my cooking, my decision to wait to have children. Her perfect son was a cheat and a liar, and I was about to hang his dirty laundry out for her to see. I expected more sputtering. Denial, perhaps even a deflection, blaming me for not being a good enough wife to keep him satisfied. What I did not expect was her response. Her voice changed. The anger didn't vanish, but it morphed, cooling into something harder, more condescending. "Oh, Sarah," she said, and I could hear the eye roll in her tone. "You are so dramatic asterisk. Is that what this is about?" I was stunned into silence. "Dramatic asterisk, for heaven's sake," she continued, a long-suffering sigh hissing down the line. "That bracelet wasn't for some asterisk mistress asterisk. It was my anniversary gift from him. He asked my opinion on it weeks ago. He must have used the card for the points. And the hotel, the Willard, that was for asterisk us asterisk, for our anniversary weekend. Your father-in-law and I stayed there. Mark booked it for us as a surprise. He probably just didn't want you to see the confirmation and spoil the surprise for me." Blood ran cold. The certainty in her voice was absolute. It didn't sound like a lie concocted on the spot. It sounded plausible. Horribly, gut-wrenchingly plausible. Mark was cheap. He would use our joint card for the points, and he had been unusually attentive to his parents lately. A cold dread began to pool in my stomach. Had I gotten it all wrong? "The dinners," I whispered, my voice weak. Good grief, probably business dinners he expensed, or maybe another surprise for his father and me. "You've let your imagination run wild and you've potentially ruined everything over your silly paranoia." The triumph was back in her voice, thick and smug. I felt the world tilt again, but this time I was sliding into an abyss of utter humiliation and catastrophic error. I had emptied our account. I had hired a lawyer. I had. "Now," Carol said, her tone now one of victorious command, "you will apologize to Mark. You will transfer that money back immediately. And we will never speak of this ridiculous, shameful episode again. Do you understand me?" I couldn't speak. My hand was trembling so hard I could barely hold the phone. I had just nuked my marriage, my financial stability, and my reputation based on a series of assumptions. I was the villain, the hysterical, paranoid, ungrateful wife. "Did you hear me?" And then, cutting through the roaring in my ears, I heard it. A voice in the background on Carol's end of the line. A young, female voice, sweet and concerned. "Okay, Mom, you sound upset," was a voice I knew. A voice I heard every week at our family dinners. It was Chloe, Carol's live-in physical therapy aide. The sweet 24-year-old girl from Idaho who called Carol Mom because she was far from home and Carol had taken her in. Time stopped. The $5,000 bracelet, the romantic hotel, the intimate dinners. It wasn't for an anonymous mistress, it was for Chloe. The plot my mother-in-law was weaving wasn't a cover-up for her son. It was a cover-up for herself asterisk. She knew, of course she knew, she'd probably encouraged it. She'd always thought I wasn't good enough for her golden boy. And now she was orchestrating the cleanup, throwing me under the bus to protect her son and his. The cold dread in my stomach evaporated, incinerated by a white-hot nova of pure, unadulterated fury. My voice, when I found it, was no longer weak. It was low, steady, and carried the chill of absolute zero. "Carol," I said, cutting off her tirade, "you will do as I say, young lady. Put Mark on the phone right now. I will do no such thing, he's too upset to. Either you put him on the phone this second," I said, each word a shard of ice, "or I call him and my first words will be, 'I know about you and Chloe.' And my second call will be to your husband to ask him how he enjoyed his anniversary gift from his son. Your choice." Silence on the other end was deafening. It was the sound of a trap snapping shut. I could hear her sharp, panicked intake of breath. There was no more bluster, no more condescension. There was only raw, naked fear. I heard fumbling, a muffled argument, and then my husband's voice, strained and terrified. "Sarah, baby, listen, it's not what you think." "Save it," I said, the calm in my voice terrifying even me. "You have 1 hour to get to our house. Alone. You will walk in, you will sit down, and you will listen to the terms of your surrender. And if you're 1 minute late, or if your mother calls me again, I burn your entire world to the ground. Starting with Daddy." I hung up. I looked at my reflection in the dark screen of the television. The woman staring back wasn't heartbroken. She wasn't hysteric. She was a queen, seated on a throne of her own making, watching the first flames of her revenge lick at the horizon. The game had just changed, and I held every single card. Part 2. The silence after I hung up was louder than any scream. 59 minutes. I moved through my asterisk, house with a methodical precision I didn't know I possessed. I wasn't clearing away evidence of our life together. I was setting a stage, my stage. I positioned myself in the living room armchair, my back to the window, the light framing me. I didn't want to see him pull up. I wanted him to walk in and see me, a silhouette of calm finality. My phone was in my lap, my thumb hovering over the contact for my lawyer, Brenda. The other, over the contact for my father-in-law, Robert, a man who adored his wife, Carol, with a blind, old-fashioned devotion that was about to become my most powerful weapon. At exactly the 59-minute mark, I heard the key fumble in the lock. He was trying to be quiet, to sneak in, maybe to find me weeping and vulnerable. The door clicked open and shut. His footsteps were hesitant on the hardwood. "Sarah," he called out, his voice a pathetic blend of contrition and accusation. "In here, Mark." He appeared in the doorway, and God, he looked small. His suit jacket was wrinkled, his hair a mess from him running his hands through it. His eyes were red-rimmed. He looked like a little boy who'd been caught stealing, not a man who'd shattered his vows. "Baby, please, you have to let me explain," he began, taking a step forward, his hands outstretched in a pleading gesture I knew well. "Sit," I said, my voice devoid of all warmth. I pointed to the sofa opposite me. "Don't speak until I'm finished." He blinked, stunned by the authority in my tone. I had never spoken to him like this. I was the accommodating one, the peacekeeper. He sank onto the edge of the couch, his posture defeated. "I know about Chloe," I stated, watching the colour drain from his face. It was a satisfying sight. "I know your mother knows. I know she just tried to gaslight me into believing I was a paranoid hysteric for uncovering your affair. It was a good story, the anniversary gift, the hotel for them, almost believable." "Sarah, it's not." I said, "Don't speak." I cut him off, my voice sharp as a whip crack. "Your opinion is no longer required. Here is what is going to happen." I leaned forward, my elbows on my knees, my gaze locking onto his. "You are going to call Brenda Davies, my attorney. You will tell her you are accepting the terms of the divorce uncontested. You will sign whatever she puts in front of you. You will not fight me for a single thing in this house. You will walk away with your clothes and your personal effects. Nothing more." He stared at me, his mouth agape. "You're insane, you can't just—" "I can," I interrupted smoothly. "And I am, because if you don't, my next call is to your father. I will forward him every receipt. I will tell him exactly what his money, because let's be honest, it's always been his money funding your business, has been paying for. I will tell him how his wife not only knew about his son fucking her live in aid but actively helped cover it up. I wonder how his heart will take that news. The cardiologist said stress was a major factor, didn't he?" Mark's face was a mask of pure terror. He was more afraid of his father's disapproval than he was of losing me. The final, pathetic piece of the puzzle clicked into place. "You wouldn't," he whispered. "Try me." I held up my phone, Robert's contact info bright on the screen. My thumb was a millimeter from the call button. The fight went out of him completely. He slumped back into the couch, a marionette with its strings cut. "What about Mom?" he asked weakly. "Your mother," I said, a cold smile touching my lips, "is going to learn the consequences of her actions. She will receive a letter from my lawyer detailing a lawsuit for intentional infliction of emotional distress and defamation for the things she said to me today. It will be a nasty, drawn-out and very public affair unless she agrees to my terms." "Which are?" he asked, his voice hollow. "She will sign a legally binding document admitting she knowingly lied to me in an attempt to defraud me of my marital assets. She will confess it all in writing. She will also personally guarantee the full and immediate repayment of the loan she claims I took from the joint account, the money that was legally half mine to begin with. Consider it a stupidity tax for trying to manipulate me." He looked at me as if he were seeing me for the first time. The quiet wife who organized his life, supported his dreams, and smoothed over his mistakes was gone. In her place was a strategist, a general, and an executioner. "And Chloe," the question was barely a breath. "She's your problem now, and your mother's. I suggest you figure it out before Daddy Dearest does." I stood up, a clear signal that the audience was over. "You have until 5 p.m. today to have your attorney contact Brenda. The paperwork for your mother will be delivered to her by courier tomorrow morning. If I don't have a signed agreement from her by 5 p.m. tomorrow, I file the lawsuit and call your father. The choice, as they say, is yours." I walked to the front door and opened it. The bright afternoon sunlight streamed in, illuminating the dust motes dancing in the air between us. "Get out of my house." He stood, shuffling like an old man, and walked past me without meeting my eyes. He paused on the front step, a broken man facing the ruins of the life he'd chosen to blow up. I closed the door before he could turn around. I locked it, the solid asterisk thunk of the deadbolt echoing through the silent house. It was the most satisfying sound I'd ever heard. I walked back to my chair and picked up my phone. I didn't call Brenda, not yet. I opened my text messages and found the thread with Carol. I typed out one final message, my fingers steady and sure. Me too, 05 p.m. He just left. You should know I offered him a choice. He chose himself. He always does. I suggest you do the same. The paperwork arrives tomorrow. Sign it. I put the phone down. I didn't wait for a response. I knew there wouldn't be one. The siege was over. I had not only defended the castle, I had burned their camps to the ground and salted the earth behind them. The silence in the house was no longer a warning. It was a promise of a new beginning built on the ashes of their lies, and it was going to be entirely my own.